Hey, what's up, guys? Figured I'd end the Halloween season here with the Good Monster magazine. In some ways, Scary Monsters, which has been around for a long time. It's sort of the antithesis of Rue Morgue. Right? Rue Morgue is government-funded, urban sociologist types. Scary Monsters, as I had mentioned before, right? Made for monster kids by monster kids. Now in Arkansas, right? It survives solely by voluntary submission. Right? So this is very professionally done. Okay, great layout. Look at this, man. But essentially, a step up from a fanzine. Okay, and the people contributing are from all parts of America and even other countries. This is the horror host issue. Now, the horror host thing is always kind of funny. Uh, on when I think about it, where I grew up, there wasn't really a horror host when I was a kid. And the horror hosts were sort of before me, or sort of in other locales. And but what's nice about the horror host phenomenon is it essentially is the American story, right? Since the war, always the war. The horror hosts were very local. Everything. This is when you had localism. Now you go around, everything looks the same. But you had a localism with the horror hosts. Apparently, going back here, I remember I had read this in the book. Was that the David Scowl book about the whole thing that gets the Monster Kid thing rolling is in 1957. You get the shock theater package with these Universal horror films that were, there's a package here, and they were released to the local TV stations, right? And they suggested, which is interesting, that they have a horror host. They have someone host the films, and in various locales you did. So this issue here goes over the horror hosts. And there's many different ones. This guy's still around, Svengoolie. I haven't seen it yet, but my buddy, with his daughters, watches sometimes the Me TV on the Roku box. Right? And he got the fan art, right? I like that I like that picture, man. That's good. That's a great picture. Interesting here to get all these people here. In 1954, at the height of McCarthyism, McCarthy was right. But interesting, it's to jump on Frederick Wortham, right? Seduction of the innocent. Well, it's like Wonder Woman practiced bondage. Well, actually, if you read the history, of course, you have Batman and Robin promoted the most vaunted value of today, and Superman was an un-American fascist. Oh, interesting. Very nuanced look at that time. You know, he never says McCarthyism was wrong per se, right? But I just thought that was just you know me. You gotta be a jerk like that. Oh wait, hey. So what I'm saying is, you'll have some like liberal types in this, but you'll also have the other side in this, which you won't get in Rumor, right? Ah. Anyway, I'm just having fun after last night, and they have some here. Okay. I don't give a damn. I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. Gilbert Gottfried was hilarious, man. Gilbert Gottfried was funny, dude. Come on, bro. And I always forget now. I always said I didn't grow up with a horror host. Although when I look back now, I was exposed to some of it. But the closest thing to a horror host that I remember, before this guy, was Gilbert Gottfried. Remember USA Up All Night? Now, where I live, we didn't get cable till like the early 90s. Everyone else in Jersey and Long Island had cable. But when I would visit these other areas, I would watch sometimes USA Up All Night. Remember, you had Rhonda Shear on Friday, and you had Gilbert Gottfried on Saturday. It was hilarious, man. Yo, Gilbert Gottfried was funny, dude. Yeah. And yeah, he passed away. Rest in peace, man. You were funny, dude. I don't give a damn. But yeah, USA Up All Night was great. I saw a lot of these cheesy kind of films. And remember, they used to. I remember they showed USA Up. They showed The Evil Dead on USA Up All Night. It was uncut. It was totally uncut. The eye gouging scene was in. Anyway, that was a memory. So going through this with my stream of consciousness, this was great. One of the first radio horror. This is something I like to explore a little bit, just because of the concept of DIY, right? The concept of making a suggestion, making something with just something you can do, which is recording your damn voice. These horror tales, and it's interesting. The guy who wrote it and came up with this idea and pitched it at, look at this. This is in New York, the WOR, right? The old WOR, 7-ton. The guy was a World War One vet. He pitched this idea, right? Well, this is an interesting book here. Golden Age of Radio, right? No one has TV back then. And these stories they would tell. One of the early of these horror stories was Witch's Tales. I just thought this was fascinating, the history of it, and like I said, it's just an interesting idea for the future, a way to get ideas out when you don't have a lot of resources. And this is the original voice of the witch, and then it's funny, they got this 13-year-old girl to replace her when she died, and this is her when she's older. Vavoom. So yeah, I'm gonna check this out, and it even said here they can be found for free at Internet Archive, great Internet Archive. That's why I love this Scary Monsters, man. The quarterly thing you can get a lot more in. Okay. Now, like horror hosts, we didn't really have a horror host that I remember. I was not a monster kid. I'm a little older. I'm a little younger. Excuse me. But Chiller. Remember this? Everyone remembers this. BTD, you remember this? Chiller. That thing scared the hell out of me. It has 6 fingers, claymation, and it would come out and grab every letter and go back into the ooze here. Man, I saw a lot of good horror movies on there. My first stepfather used to like watching horror movies. I remember him. I wonder where he is now. He used to watch the horror movies. He used to explain them to me too, more than my mom, because my mom was kind of scared of them. But my first stepdad, he liked them. I mean, the guy was a nom, bro. One of his friends was dead next to him for like hours in a truck upside down. I tell you that story, but exactly. He was before my time. Okay? Of course, Vampira. Hey, yeah. Let's just go through the different horror hosts here. Chili Billy is funny. Guru Rick and my brother James LaFont, they actually remember growing up in the Pittsburgh, Washington, PA area, and they remember this guy. And he was one of the horror hosts. He's like, yeah, I'm not getting all dressed up. He was just like wearing a suit and tie. Of course, he had a hand acting in and promoting and helping the original Night of the Living Dead. So, and his daughter, of course, she played in Day of the Dead, if you remember. So that was interesting. And this guy here, this guy's a big dude. People mention him all the time, this guy. He just would dress up. I mean, he looks kind of like William F. Buckley Jr., right? But he was a horror host that was just like a regular dude. He would interview like Christopher Lee and stuff like that. Interesting. The localism, okay? I never heard of these people until much later. Right? The much missed localism. Okay. So now, going through this. Now, like I said, I didn't really grow up with a horror host. I'm just going through here. This guy, I remember him on Monster. He was on, apparently, I guess, the movie channel, but I remember him on Monster Vision on TNT. Remember? This was the guy, okay? You had the damn robots, the MST3K stupidity, okay? Your hipster setup, by the way. But Joe Bob Briggs was cool. This guy was funny. He would talk about the film now. He would focus on the film. He would focus on the behind the scenes of the film. He would do the whole list, like, how many people were killed, chainsaw food, right? He would use, like, all kinds of funny terms. And it was an interesting interview with him. Young Joe Bob, right? But what I thought was interesting here was He was originally a newspaper writer. I started out in the newspaper business. All my influences, guys from the 19th century, Mark Twain, Ambrose Bierce, Lafcadio O'Hearn, right? The whole idea of Joe Bob's, I'm a populist film critic, right? I like what the people like. Now, he chose the name because it sounds like a poor, uneducated Southerners. In other words, someone they think, that everyone could feel superior to. Once you're kissed off as beneath contempt by all fine, upstanding bigots, many of whom are liberals. Yeah, Joe. I always like Joe. Then you end up with an audience of people who don't care about names. They're listeners, not judges. They're the real liberal thinkers. I like that. Yeah, I'll tell you, Joe Bob was great. I like this dude. My man's going over. Oh, God. Kierkegaard, Hegel. Yeah. Where's Schopenhauer? Where's Heidegger? So, obviously, when he takes the motif as like the redneck dude, he's actually not making fun of it. He's actually using it, right? In a way, I don't know. It's just this guy was always great, right? Celebrate the movie, not your own shtick. Shtick. Yeah, so this was great, man. This is Joe Bob, man. Good, great dude. Goes Vampira. Oh man, she was beautiful, hot. Very troubled though. Very much a woman, similar to the women of today. Look at this friggin' rag here. Whisper. James Dean's Black Madonna. James Dean. His secret things. Mike Rocky Marciano's secret shape. Look at this. Oh, and my man see, that's what Danzig, Davey Havoc, that's where they got the double lock from. They got it from Elvis. Look, what a cool picture. I never saw this picture. Yeah, gorgeous woman, but very troubled. Very troubled. Yeah. Hey, man, don't put your thing in crazy, right? Okay, now the horror hosts. Like I said, in New York, you didn't have a horror host. Closest thing I saw was like Gilbert Gottfried around this year and Joe Bob later in the '90s. But I remember because I lived back and forth in between Pennsylvania a lot. Saturday Night Dead, that was coming out of Philly with Stella. Oh man, Saturday Night Dead. It was already gone by like 1990. But I remember watching it when I was in Pennsylvania because we would get the Philly station, and yeah, she was funny. She was definitely a trip, and it's very interesting. She makes a good point that she would be the butt of a lot of the jokes in here, and she would act like a fool, but yeah, it was still funny. I don't know. It was very campy, but she was. I mean, Jesus Christ, man! Man. Speaking of campy, remember Rip Taylor? Rip Taylor was funny, man. Remember him in Wade's World too. Anyway. But yeah, it was cool. I remember Saturday Night Dead, and I'll remember out of the Pittston area, probably the closest thing to the traditional horror host that I ever saw when I was in Pennsylvania, Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted's Monster Mania coming out of Pittston, Pennsylvania. Right? Uncle Ted's Monster Mania was great, man. I saw a lot of films there. Uncle Ted was sort of like a magician guy that would have the like a fez on. He would do magic tricks and he would have that laugh. And I remember that. I used to watch a lot of cool movies on there on Friday nights. Uncle Ted Monster Mania. So I met this woman here. She was pretty cool. Met her at where did I meet her at? I forgot. And we got the goth e-thoughts. Anyway, just rounding out into the end. You know how much I like this stuff. Now that's not Elvira, but yeah. So yeah, the Disney thing here. Look at all Woolworth. Gosh, spooky outfits. Halloween fun. Interesting. Someone wrote a novel about the making of Frankenstein. So, and the LaMilles. Hey, you know what? This younger son. Remember, the father didn't want to do horror movies. The son wanted to do them. Right? Near the age of Veronica Lake. She's another hottie. All gone. So essentially, great issue, man. Great. Once again, scary monsters, dude. Like this, and of course the Dark Side from the UK. These are the two magazines I keep championing. I don't know my accent. Anyway, but great stuff, man. You get this wherever you're at. Hopefully, just This is the real deal. This is the populist Monster Kid, a horror magazine. Okay, like I said, I've been rough on the boomers, but I gotta be a little less rough on the boomers. This is one of the many reasons why. Happy Halloween.